What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Thrifty back with Thrifty PS Gamer Reviews. This will be my spoiler-free, as you can tell on the screen right now, spoiler-free review of Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. Now, I have not beaten the game. I am about halfway through it, and I wanted to give y'all kind of what I think of it so far. On this channel, I do reviews based off of games that I have either purchased on sale or that are included with the PlayStation Plus subscription. This game is included with the subscription. So if you have that, it's a game that you have access to that you are fully able to download and play. Other than that, the game usually doesn't go on sale. I think the cheapest I've seen it is like $29, I believe. Outside of that, this game doesn't usually see a lot of discounts. So PS Plus is your best way to play if you don't want to outright purchase the game. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and get PS Plus right away just for this title, but if you have it, it is there available to you. Let's dive in. The guy in the red hair who you're seeing running around on the screen right now, that is Adol Christian. He is the absolute protagonist of the Ys series. The Ys series always has him in some perilous situation that he has to get out of. Now, Ys 9 was made in 2019, developed by Falcom, and I believe NIS is the one that handled the port or just the English translation. Not sure on that, guys. When I start getting into all the nitty-gritties of who does what in which region for these JRPGs, it gets really convoluted. Speaking of very convoluted, I have about 3 boss battles that you're going to see today, and those boss battles are very, very much messy. They're wild. They're all over the place. And so I'm going to try to kind of bring attention to those as we're talking, just to kind of highlight some of the mechanics. Like right here, you see that there is a dodge mechanic, and then I go back in with a swing and some special moves, and this is actually kind of early on in the title, where it's still just me and my party. And so that's one of the cool things about this game, is just like a lot of JRPGs, your party is going to expand the further along you get in it. One of the other cool things that I like that's about to be coming up is you're going to see kind of a ranking system in these Monstrum Nox areas. And so, in these Grimwalds. And so what happens is afterwards, it's going to give you a ranking system, just like this. And with that ranking system, it feels very much a Devil May Cry-esque kind of style. And with that style, you get this. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that all the time, but what this game does really well is that you only get those rankings inside the Grimwalds, which are where you actually fight most of your Monstrum. Now, as you're going to find out throughout the story, there's going to be these rifts throughout the city of Balduke, which is where you're stationed, which is where all this stuff is kind of going down, and you can still go into those and fight, and those don't give you a rank system either. It is only when you're inside the Grimwalds, and I actually really enjoy that because it kind of gives you 2 different styles of combat conclusion, and I like both of those. I don't necessarily like the ranking system all throughout the game, but I do really enjoy every once in a while seeing, oh cool, that's how I did. So far I've gotten an S on every single one I've done on first try, just because right now, at least where I'm at in the game, the Grimwalds feel very easy. But the boss battles are starting to get harder, so it's kind of a give and take. As you'll see right here, one of the cool things that I like about this game is the traversal mechanics. You'll see that when I'm controlling Adol, I can actually kind of grapple up to the enemy, and that is a traversal mechanic for Adol's character. You will have one with each character that you unlock and get. Each one will have a different traversal mechanic, and as far as I know, most of them can and should be used in battle. And so, right now, as you can see, the combat is fast, it's fluid, it's literally non-stop from the moment you get into the fight until the very end. It's this constant struggle, this constant battle. One of my kind of knocks on the game a little bit is that there's no real, like, seamless way to use your items. As you're about to see here, I have to actually go into the item menu, breaking me out of combat to select an item to revive one of my characters and bring him back to life. And then you go back into the battle. It's kind of a cheaty way that you can do all your items and stuff like that. I would have liked to have had a little bit more pressure on my characters and on myself as I'm going through here. But that sadly you don't get with this. There is no way to use items quickly in combat from what I've found. One of the things I will give this game credit for is it does have a full on status ailment system. And boy, when you get hit with some of those things, it absolutely sucks. And you have to get it off of you immediately. And that's one thing I love. I like games that give you combat, that give you elemental based combat, status elements that actually affect you. You know, it was one of my biggest knocks on Final Fantasy 16 is it didn't have those things. And as a JRPG or an RPG in general, I think that those things should be relevant. And this is actually one of the fights that you're watching right now where I had just unlocked a new character, he had a new ability, and one of the things that this monster does that you're going to see a little later in the fight is it will actually jump up and slam all the way down, moving the floor and sending the floor down into a spike area. Well, one of the abilities in here is that you can actually sit and like get wings that cause you to be able to float. And so when he jumps and when the floor falls, you time it just right and you can jump up in the air. And when you do, you bring out your wings and you just kind of circle, kind of dodging his abilities. You circle around until the floor rises. Now, does it always work? No. You'll actually see in one here where I still take some spike damage. But what you're not going to see is the one where I died and had to start over because of spike damage. And so I really like the fact that the traversal mechanics also double as combat mechanics. It's not something that is just off to the wayside or out of sight, out of mind. It actually does work. One of the other things I want to point out is how much stuff is going on screen. You know, out in the world, you will deal with a lot of pop in, but in these more closed environments, it's really well done. They're really clean environments, and when you fight, you are always doing something. Like, look at that right there. There are lasers on the ground, lasers in the air, and I'm still trying to deal combat damage to this thing, and it is just a nightmare. You really have to be patient with some of these fights. This is a boss at the end of one of the chapters, and it is just a pain because it's so fast, it's so varying. One of the things that I would recommend is kind of if you ever played a Souls game, try to figure out the attack patterns and then dodge, dodge, dodge. If it's something you can't dodge, learn where the block button is. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do, and earlier on in the game, you're not going to have a lot of money, you're not going to have a lot of ingredients to make things, to make healing items, stuff like that, so you're going to have to rely on actually either lowering the difficulty or being able to kind of get in that sense of, okay, I have to dodge, I have to have patience, I have to learn. This is one of the very first fights in the game, and I think it does a great job of kind of teaching you how important the dodge mechanic is, how important it is to get out of the way, when to time your attacks, and just kind of what to look for when an enemy telegraphs an attack. It's one of the things that I think the game did really well was this boss fight. One of the other things I want to point out is the graphics and the colors and the way that this game is presented. I've called back up one of the other boss fights that I did. We've already seen this, but everything is flashy. it doesn't necessarily look next gen, quote unquote, but everything does look good. The colors pop off the screen. The way they use the color palette in this is wonderful. I love games that do this, where when you're in combat, when you're out of combat, when you're using special abilities, they make it look so awesome. Like, look at all the stuff that's happening right there with the little burst effects, with all of the special moves, with like that right there. All the swipes, the slashes, the way it engulfs the whole screen, the way the color literally comes off of it. Like, I think they did a great job using the color palette and using the lighting. And if they couldn't give like ray tracing or ambient occlusion, what they did give was super bright and very eye catching and enjoyable use of these colors. And I absolutely love that. The sound in the game, you heard at the very beginning of this video. I don't want to use too much because I'm afraid of copyrights, but the sound in this game is really, really good. The fighting, the battles, everything seems fast paced when it's supposed to be. It slows you down when you're supposed to. The music of this game really sets the tempo. And I love games that actually use the music to its fullest ability. One of the other cool things about this game is that you will encounter tons of cool characters, you'll encounter tons of helpful people, and like I was saying earlier, a lot of these little kind of rifts will pop up, and you can go inside of those rifts and fight till your heart's content and defeat these lemures and lemures or however you say it. You defeat those things, you earn XP, and you can kind of grind your levels a bit. And there's certain parts where you're going to need to grind your levels, and I'm not even kidding. Some of the rifts that open up, they actually have level requirements, and I recommend you pay attention to them. But guys, overall, I think this game is a good buy, and I think that if anybody gets it, if you're kind of on the fence, try it on PS Plus. See if it's something you would enjoy. I have no doubt if you're a fan of RPGs and JRPGs that you will find this game super fun and enjoyable. It does not use your basic turn-based combat. It is a full action combat. And so I think that'll be more appealing to a wider audience. A lot of folks don't like strictly turn-based JRPGs, and you're not going to get that with this. So I think this game is a good get. I think you should get it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm going to leave my rating in the hands of one of the characters from the game. And as always, guys, stay thrifty.
Impressive.